I've had a few questions about laws pertaining to the funeral industry, and so I just wanted to clarify those a little bit. The main one that has been asked recently is about embalming. Many families have thought that embalming is required no matter what kind of service you have, but in the state of Texas, it is not law. It is not required by law for a loved one to be embalmed before any services are provided. There is a little bit of confusion because some funeral homes can require it depending on the kind of service that they are having. For example, if a funeral home requires embalming for a public viewing, there are a lot of health reasons why embalming needs to take place, especially when a loved one can be in state for multiple days, and so that the preservation and disinfecting of the body needs to happen. Another thing is that there is a law that requires that a body be placed in refrigeration or is embalmed or is put inside of a sealed container within a 24-hour period. So if a funeral home has no access to refrigeration, they actually have 24 hours to contact the family. And if they cannot, if they do their due diligence and they cannot get a hold of any family member to give them any kind of instructions, embalming can take place to hold the body until a family member is contacted. So there are certain things that happen that might be a little confusing as far as what the requirements are for the embalming to take place. Another thing that families ask about is cemeteries. They ask, why is a vault required at a cemetery? But that also is not a state law. If you go to a county cemetery or maybe some of the city cemeteries, they do not require any kind of vault or outer burial container for the casket or loved one to be buried. Other cemeteries, they do require it, and they can, because it helps with leveling of the grounds, helps make the cemetery pretty. It also helps with liability purposes. If you walk across a cemetery, there sometimes are holes and different things, and we don't want you tripping and falling when you're going and paying your respects. So cemeteries can require that, but it is not required by law for a vault to be done. So just depending on the cemetery and what their regulations are, those are things to consider when you're selecting a funeral home for services, and also when you're selecting a cemetery for burial.